Welcome to the DreamDrifts Podcast by Professor Pursuit, voiced by PJ Hanafin. Tonight, I invite you to join me by the fire and embark on an adventure designed not just to entertain, but to guide you into the arms of sleep. To a place where dreams weave the fabric of reality and the world melts away. In the story that follows, we will wander together into the realms of imagination, into a story that, by its very nature, will drift from the clarity of narrative into the soothing embrace of dreams. The story that follows is designed to aid you to let go, to relax fully, and to allow the gentle tide of sleep to carry you away. So, dear listener, make yourself comfortable, tuck yourself in, find a cozy spot, and let the worries of the day melt away. Breathe deeply, in through the nose, and out through the mouth. And let each breath draw you deeper into relaxation, closer to the realms of dreams. Tonight, there's no need to hold on to the threads of wakefulness. Let them slip through your fingers as you prepare to journey with us into dreamland. And now, as the story begins, remember, this journey is for you. A path to sleep, woven with words and whispers, designed to lead you into a peaceful, restful night. So, close your eyes if you haven't already, and let us embark on this voyage to the stars, to the quiet corners of imagination, where sleep awaits to embrace you in its gentle, comforting arms. Welcome to the DreamDrifts Podcast. The Fantastic Voyage of Captain Biscuit and the Chocolate River, written and voiced by PJ Hanafin. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a soft golden glow over the whipped cream waves, where the magnificent SS Crumbcake lay moored. Her sails, vast and velvety as freshly rolled dough, fluttered gently in the morning breeze. Eagerly awaiting the day's adventure, the deck of the Crumbcake was like a baker's fantasy, lined with railings of candy cane and portholes dripping with white chocolate. On the dock, Captain Biscuit adjusted his licorice-laced tie-cord hat and surveyed his vessel with pride. Here was a stout figure, made entirely of gingerbread, with a cinnamon stick stored at his side and gumdrop buttons that gleamed in the sunlight. Today, they were to embark on a voyage like no other, down the mysterious meandering chocolate river to discover its secret source. "Hoist the marmalade flags," Captain Biscuit called out. His voice was as rich and warm as hot chocolate. The crew, mostly an assortment of cookie pirates, sprang into action. There was Sprinkle Sam, a sweet sailor who left a trail of rainbow jammy dodgers wherever he went. Macaron Mary, a coconutty coxswain with a sharp eye for navigation, and Oreo Ollie, the ship's lookout, who was never seen without his black and white hat. As the crew prepared the ship, the scent of caramel and chocolate filled the air, drifting from the river itself, which flowed thick and velvety past the wharf. The chocolate river was a marvel. its banks lined with jelly bean pebbles and fondant flowers, attracting marshmallow butterflies that fluttered lazily in the mild air. Today, we seek the source of this delicious river, Captain Biscuit announced, climbing aboard. As we protect it from the clutches of the disasterly dental brigade, who see our sweet stream washed away. The crew cheered. The sun mingled with the calls of the sugar seagulls overhead. As for the last of our supplies, barrels of peppermint water and crates of crated fruit were loaded. Captain Biscuit took his place at the helm. "Set sail," he commanded, and the crumb cake slid gently and gracefully into the river's creamy currents. The journey had begun, with the shores of the confectionery coast slowly fading behind them, and ahead, the promise of mysteries wrapped in the mist of the morning sugar fog. As the SS Crumb Cake ventured deeper into the chocolatory depths, the air grew thick with a scent of adventure and the unknown. With each swirl of the river around them, the crew of cookie pirates felt the excitement bubbling like a boiling caramel pot. They were on their way to uncover the source of the endless chocolate, guided by the stars and the whims of the sugary currents. What awaited them was unknown, but one thing was certain: it was going to be a sweet voyage. As the SS Crumb Cake cut through the thick, smooth waves of the chocolate river, the world seemed to unfold in an endless parade of sugary wonders. The river's currents were gentle, more a leisurely drift than a torrent. Perfect for a voyage meant to soothe and dazzle. Each bend in the river revealed new marvels, from candy cane trees arching gracefully over the water, their stripes glinting like coloured glass, to the caramel banks where the licorice ferns grew in the wind, tangled patches. Captain Biscuit stood at the helm. His eyes twinkled with delight as he navigated through the confectionery landscape. The crew too was captivated by the surroundings, often leaning over the sides to gaze at the glistening chocolate water. Oreo Ollie, perched in the crow's nest, shouted down every so often, pointing at sights like a child at a parade. "Look! Cotton candy clouds!" he'd call. Or, "There's a rock candy reef!" The chocolate river itself played a melody, a soft, burbling tone that seemed to sync with the gentle rustling of the sugar paper leaves and the distant hum of honeybees. This natural music set a tranquil rhythm for the day, as if the river itself was lulling the voyagers deeper into a state of calm and anticipation. Along the banks, wild grumbles grew in clusters, their shiny colours catching the sun. Here and there, marshmallow ducks paddled serenely by, leaving ripples that spread across the chocolate surface, disorientating the reflections of toffee tufts and peppermint sticks. As afternoon turned to dusk, the river's surface shimmered with the hues of the setting sun, turning the chocolate from dark brown to a rich, molten gold. The air cooled slightly, and with the scent of vanilla wafting through, mixing the ever-present aroma of the chocolate. It was during these quiet hours that Sprinkle Sam brought out his guitar and played soft, dreamy tunes, adding to the enchanting atmosphere. Even the more cynical members of the crew, like the grizzled somber Plum Pete, couldn't help but be moved by the beauty around them. He'd been on many a salty voyage in his day, but none as sweetly serene as this. As night fell, the river guided them under a bridge made entirely of fudge, a structure sturdy yet somehow delicate, adorned with icing sugar that sparkled like frost under the moonlight. The crumb cake sailed on, her path illuminated by glowworms that hung from the branches of chocolate cherry trees, casting a gentle, dappled light on the deck. In this world of endless sweetness, where the worries of the ordinary world melted away like marshmallows in hot cocoa, the crew of the SS Crumbcake drifted towards sleep, their dreams filled with visions of chocolate waterfalls and candy frost clouds, while the river carried with them on board. Deep into the heart of this delicious, dreamy mystery. As the moon climbed high in the sky, its silver light darts on the surface of the chocolate river, turning it into a mirror of stars. The crew of the SS Crumbcake had settled into a comfortable silence, the soft melodies of Sprinkle Sam's guitar still lingering in the air. It was then, amidst the tranquil harmony of the night, that they heard a melody unlike any other, a chorus so sweet and soft that it seemed to be made of whispers in moonlight. "Listen," Macron May whispered, her voice filled with wonder. The rest of the crew stilled, their eyes straining. From the shadowy waters a gentle singing rose, floating over the river like a silky fog. The tune was slow and melodious. The tune was a slow lullaby that seemed to weave through the very air. As they listened, shapes began to emerge from the water, their bodies soft and translucent under the moonlight. They were marshmallow mermaids, their tails coated in fine sugar, glistening with the river's reflection. Their hair flowed around them like strands of spun sugar, and their eyes sparkled with the joy of the song. Captain Biscuit leaned over the rail, utterly enchanted. "Ahoy there!" he called out, his voice both gentle and joyful. The singing paused, and the marshmallow mermaids smiled, their voices tinkling like bell chimes. "Welcome, travellers of the chocolate waters," one of them sang, her voice as smooth as melted marshmallow. "We've heard tales of your journey," another added, drifting closer to the ship. Her tail flicked playfully, splashing the dark chocolate water. "Why do you sing at night?" Ollie asked, his curiosity piqued by the ethereal presence. "To soothe the river and bless its journey," a third mermaid replied, her eyes twinkling, "and to share dreams and stories with those who sail its currents." The crew gathered at the ship's edge, listening intently as the marshmallow mermaids continued their lullabies. The songs told of ancient rivers, filled with liquid moonlight, of starlight dances, and of the deep, dreamy peace that lives beneath the waters. "Would you like to share with us the source of the river?" Captain Biscuit asked, hoping for guidance in their quest. The mermaids exchanged glances, their faces serene. "The river knows its own source," one murmured, her voice as light as air. "Follow its flow, and you will find what you seek. But beware, for not all in the sugary depths is as sweet as it seems." With a final harmonious note that seemed to linger in the air like a soft echo, the marshmallow mermaid submerged, disappearing into the depths of the chocolate river. The lullabies faded away, leaving behind a silence that was thick with mystery and magic. The crew stood in quiet awe, touched by the magic of the encounter. Captain Biscuit finally broke the silence, his voice thoughtful. "Onward we sail, with dreams as our guide," he declared, a determined glint in his eye. As the SS Crumbcake continued its voyage, the river seemed to embrace them more fully, its currents whispering secrets of the night, and in the hearts of the cookie pirates, the memory of the Marshmallow Mermaid songs wove into their dreams, a sweet melody to guide them through the darkness. Morning broke over the chocolate river with a deceptive calm, the sweet air filled with the gentle hum of sugar bees. But as the SS Crumbcake sailed onward, the skies began to darken, and a curious wind whipped up, carrying with it the scent of ants and mint. But Captain Biscuit peered at the horizon, his brow furrowed beneath his tricorn hat. "Looks like a storm's brewing," he noted, his voice tinged with both caution and excitement. The crew tensed, their eyes scanning the sky as it turned a deep shade of licorice black. Without warning, the air burst into a whirl of colours as gumdrops began to fall from the sky, bouncing off the deck with soft, sugary thud. "Gumdrop gales!" shouted Sprinkle Sam, his voice a mix of awe and amusement as he dodged the colourful confections. The river itself seemed to rise in response to the storm, its chocolate waves frothing and swirling. Licorice rain lashed down, stripping the river with streaks of black. The scene was one of vibrant chaos, with gumdrops and licorice creating a surreal spectacle. "Secure the sails," Captain Biscuit commanded, and the crew sprang into action. Macaroon Mary and Oreo Ollie struggled with the marmalade flags, tying them down as gumdrops pelted their hands. Meanwhile, Sugar Plum Pete manned the wheel alongside the captain, steering the ship through the swirling candy tempest. Despite the tumult, there was a palpable thrill among the crew. This was no ordinary storm, but a fantastical tempest that could only exist in a world governed by the whims of confectionery and dreams. The SS Crumbcake rocked and dipped through the chocolate waves, rising in the storm like a ship in a bottle tossed by a playful child. As they navigated through the gumdrop gales, the crew couldn't help but marvel at the sight. The gumdrops, in every hue imaginable, lit up the dark skies like a rainbow in the night. Even the licorice rain, though sharp with its ants flavour, seemed to cleanse the air in a strangely refreshing way. After what seemed like an eternity, but was only perhaps an hour or so, the storm began to subside. The last few gumdrops fell softly onto the deck, and the licorice rain tampered off to a mere drizzle. The dark clouds slowly parted, giving way to a renewed glow of sunlight that shimmered off the wet surfaces of the ship and the river, leaving everything sparkling with sugar. Captain Biscuit let out a hearty laugh, shaking off a gumdrop from his hat. "Well, that was a sweet storm if I ever saw one," he exclaimed, his eyes bright with the thrill of their survival. The crew joined in the laughter, picking gumdrops off the deck and popping them into their mouths, savouring the sweet taste of their victory over the gumdrop gales. And as the SS Crumbcake sailed forward, the river now calm and glistening under the sun, the adventure felt renewed, with spirits lifted and hearts lighter, ready for whatever wonders and challenges lay ahead on the fantastical voyage. After the exhilarating chaos of the gumdrop gales, the waters of the Chocolate River once again grew calm, and the SS Crumbcake continued its journey under a serene sky. It wasn't long before a peculiar structure appeared on the horizon, drawing the curious eyes of the crew. As they drew nearer, the outline of a grand lighthouse became clear, its walls meticulously woven from strands of black and red licorice. "Behold, the Licorice Lighthouse," Captain Biscuit announced, his voice echoing with a mix of reverence and excitement. The ship approached slowly, the lighthouse standing tall against the backdrop of candy floss sky. The structure was a marvel of confectionery architecture, with its spiralling licorice ropes and windows, panelled with sheets of sugar glass that shimmered in the sunlight. At its base, a small dock made of peppermint sticks welcomed them, bobbing gently in the chocolate waves. Captain Biscuit led his crew ashore, their boots sticking slightly to the gooey peppermint. They approached the lighthouse door, which was adorned with a knocker, shaped like a sugar star. With a firm grasp, Captain Biscuit lifted the knocker, and it fell. The sound was muffled, sweetened by the sugary air. The door swung open on its own, revealing the interior of the lighthouse, which was as enchanting as its exterior. The walls and sides were lined with shelves overflowing with scrolls and sea charts, all preserved in crystal clear sugar coatings. The air was rich with the scent of ants and mints, blending with the aroma of chocolate from outside. "Explore carefully," Captain Biscuit instructed, his eyes scanning the room for clues. The crew dispersed, their fingers gingerly touching the treasures within the lighthouse. It was Oreo Ollie who stumbled upon a particularly ancient-looking map, rolled up in a corner. With a gentle touch, he unrolled it on a licorice-wrapped table. The map was detailed exquisitely, its lines drawn in fine sugar ink. It depicted the course of the Chocolate River, snaking through lands of candy and beyond into mysterious territories. At the source of the river, the map marked an area labelled the Tranquil Heartland, illustrated with mountains that seemed to ooze with molten chocolate. "Captain, look at this!" Oreo Ollie called out. The crew gathered around, their eyes wide as they traced the path laid out in the ancient map. "Aye, that must be it. The source of our beloved river," Captain Biscuit murmured, his fingers hovering over the Tranquil Heartland. "This lighthouse is not just a beacon, it's a guardian of secrets." Filled with a new purpose and excitement, the crew discussed their next steps. The map may not only have confirmed their path, but deepened the mystery of their quest. What wonders and challenges did the Tranquil Heartland hold? And who had constructed this lighthouse to guide the way? With the map safely rolled up and tucked onto Captain Biscuit's arm, the crew made their way back to the ship. The Licorice Lighthouse stood silent behind them, its twisted contours a stark silhouette against the setting sun. As the SS Crumbcake set sail once more, the spirits of the crew were high, their hearts fueled by the promise of discovery. The map had given them a clear direction, and with the secrets of the lighthouse lighting their way, they were ready to face whatever adventures awaited them in the heart of the Chocolate River. With the map from the Licorice Lighthouse guiding them, the SS Crumbcake ventured deeper into the heart of the Chocolate River. The water thickened and darkened as they approached a vast, lush area where the river widened. Here, the banks were densely lined with forests unlike any other, the Jelly Bean Jungle. As they neared the shore, the vibrant colours of the jungle came into view. Trees towering high into the sky were not made of wood, but of jelly beans. Their trunk a mosaic of every conceivable colour and flavour. From shimmering sapphire blues to deep luscious reds, the leaves shimmered with a sugary sheen, rustling softly with the gentle river breeze. Captain Biscuit anchored the SS Crumbcake at a river bend, sheltered under the canopy of a giant lime-flavoured jelly bean tree. Prepare for an expedition, crew. We will explore on foot from here, he declared, his eyes sparkling with the thrill of adventure. The crew disembarked, stepping onto a ground that felt surprisingly soft underfoot, cushioned by fallen jelly beans that had over time melded into a sort of natural carpet. The air was heavy with a fruity aroma, each breath tasting slightly of the sweet candies that surrounded them. As they ventured deeper into the jungle, they discovered that the flowers blooming around them were made of the finest fondant, their petals delicate and intricately designed, dusted with sparkling sugar that caught the light. These fondant flowers exuded a gentle fragrance that mingled with the fruity scent of the jelly beans, creating a dreamlike atmosphere that seemed almost otherworldly. The deeper they went, the thicker the jungle grew. Vines of licorice twisted around the candy canes, samplings, and bushes of grummy berries thudded softly as ripe as fruits fell, their impact muffled by the jelly bean around. Suddenly, a soft giggle echoed through the trees, and from behind a large cluster of grape-flavoured jelly bean bushes, a group of tiny twinkling creatures appeared. They were the jelly bean spirit, guardians of the jungle, their bodies shimmering with translucent quality, their wings fluttering rapidly like the leaves of sugar maple in the breeze. "Visitors in our jungle? How sweet," chirped one sprite, her voice a tinkle like a chime of a sugar glass bell. "Are you here to taste or to tour?" "We seek the source of the chocolate river," Captain Biscuit replied, his tone respectful. "Our journey is guided by a map that led us here." The spirits buzzed among themselves, their movements creating a blur of colours. "Follow the flow, it knows where to go," sang one sprite, pointing deeper into the jungle. "But beware, the path is wrapped in sweetness and peril." Thanking the spirits, the crew continued, guided by the subtle flow of a smaller turbidity that tickled through the jungle. The landscape grew even more surreal, the trees of swirling jelly beans spiralling towards the sky, creating a group of colours that dazzled the eyes and soothed the mind. As night began to fall, the jelly bean jungle transformed. Flowers opened their petals, casting a soft glow that lit the path. The atmosphere was serene yet filled with the soft, constant undercurrent of magic, a place where reality seemed suspended and the fantastical became the norm. With hearts full of wonder and eyes heavy with the enchantment of the jelly bean jungle, the crew set up camp, their dreams that night coloured by the vivid hues and sweet scents of the surreal forest around them. As they slept, the river whispered nearby, a constant reminder of their quest and the mysteries that awaited. As dawn broke over the jelly bean jungle, the crew of the SS Crumbcake awoke to find the world around them had transformed. A dense, sweet-smelling fog had descended upon the river, so thick and so rich that it seemed to be made of soft, melting fudge. It swirled around the ship in a slow, dreamlike eddies, coating everything it touched with a fine mist of sugary condensation. "Seems we're sailing through a cloud of dessert," Captain Biscuit remarked, with a chuckle as he swept and smite a smear of the fog from his sleeve, which left a faint chocolate scent on his fingers. The crew was initially wary, but as they breathed the air sweet, their apprehensions melted away, replaced by a sense of serene wonder. As the crumb cake drifted lazily through the fudge fog, visibility reduced to just a few feet beyond the ship's bow. There was nothing to do but to trust in the gentle currents of the chocolate river and the sturdy build of their ship. With no landmarks in sight and the usual tasks of navigation impossible, the crew found themselves gathered around the deck, drawn in a quiet, reflective conversations. "It's like we're adrift in a dream," Macaroon Mary mused, her voice soft and thoughtful. "Do you reckon dreams can be touched or tasted, like this fog?" "Maybe dreams are like rivers," Sprinkle Sam suggested, stretching his legs and leaning back against the barrel of peppermint water. "Always flowing somewhere, full of twists and turns, with a source and an end, yet all of it hidden and deep out of sight." Ollie joined in, his youthful curiosity piqued. "I dreamt once that I was a marshmallow, floating on this very river, but when I woke up, I felt like part of me was still out there, drifting. What if dreams are places we visit, not just thoughts in our heads?" The crew pondered this, the silence around them filled only by the soft lapping of chocolate waters against the hull. The fog seemed to invite such blurring the lines between the real and the imagined, the tangible and the mythical. Sugar Complete, usually more reserved, spoke up, his voice carrying a rare tenderness. "In a way, this journey is a dream, isn't it? Sailing on a river of chocolate, meeting marshmallow mermaids, weathering gumdrop storms. Who's to say this isn't a dream like as it gets?" The conversations meandered like the river itself, with each crew member offering their thoughts and reflections. Stories of dreams from their past mingled with speculations on the nature of reality, the future and the mystical world they were navigating. It was as if the fudge fog had slowed time itself, allowing them space to ponder and connect on a level deeper than their usual banter. As the day wore on, the fog began to lift, slowly, the air clearing to reveal the bright, colourful banks of the river once more. But the gentle magic of the fudge fog did not leave the crew entirely. It lingered in their minds and hearts, a sweet memory of the time they spent adrift in a chocolate cloud, when the boundaries between waking and dreaming were deliciously blurred. Refreshed by the philosophical journey through the fudge fog, the crew prepared to continue their voyage, their spirits buoyed by the shared bond of their dreamy tour, ready to face whatever the river had in store for them next. As the fudge fog dissipated and the vivid landscape of the chocolate river reasserted itself, the SS Crumbcake sailed into a region where the banks grew steep and rocky. Up ahead, a series of dark openings dotted the cliffside, mouths of caves that beckoned mystery. Captain Biscuit steered the ship closer, intrigued by these natural formations. "These be the Caramel Caves," he announced, his voice echoing with a mix of awe and excitement. "Legends tell of their sticky walls and sweet secrets." The crew anchored the crumb cape at a nearby outcrop and disembarked, each member equipped with a lantern. The entrance to the nearest cave was broad and inviting. The cool air and sweet scent of the burnt sugar. As they ventured inside, their lanterns illuminated walls that dripped with caramel, forming natural stalactites and stalagmites that glistened like golden icicles. "It's like walking into a dessert," Macaroon May whispered, her voice hushed in reverence. The floor was sticky underfoot, and they had to be careful where they stopped. At least their boots became too caked in caramel to move freely. Deep within the caves, the walls began to tell a story. Etched into the caramel were the intricate hieroglyphics, not carved but formed naturally through some mysterious process of sugarcraft. The images depicted various scenes: rivers flowing from a mighty mountain, trees bearing chocolate fruit, and figures that resembled cookie people. Perhaps ancestors of Captain Biscuit himself, worshipping at these natural wonders. "Look here," Ollie pointed out, shining his lantern on a particularly detailed panel. It shows a massive tree, its roots steep in the ground and its branches overshadowing a small village. Beneath it, cookie figures gathered, their arms raised in what seemed like joy or perhaps reverence. These must be the ancients of our kind. That tree could be the source of the river, Captain Biscuit mused, his eyes tracing the lines of the hieroglyphics. The Keiko heartland might not just be a place, but a cradle of life, where the river begins and sustains all. The crew moved throughout the cave, their lanterns casting shadows that danced along with the caramel drips. The atmosphere was one of discovery, each turn and corner revealing more of the river's storied past. They took turns sketching the hieroglyphics in a large leather-bound journal, intent on preserving this newfound knowledge. As they reached the deepest part of the cave, they found a small pool of molten caramel, perfectly still and reflected the ceiling like a mirror. Above it hung a stalactite that dripped slowly, rhythmically into the pool, each drop sending tiny ripples across the surface. "This place, it's alive, in its own way," Sprinkle Sam said softly, his words filled with wonder. "It's as if the river itself is breathing and growing around us." With a renewed sense of purpose and connection to the land and its history, the crew made their way back to the surface, the images of the ancient cookie people etched into their minds. They left the caramel caves behind, but the stories and secrets they had held moved with them, flowing back into the river that carried them onwards, towards the Kaku heartland, each stroke of the oars now guided by the wisdom of the past. Leaving the caramel caves behind, the crew of the SS Crumb Cake sailed onward, their spirits buoyed by the secrets they had uncovered. The river widened as they approached a region where the water darkened to a rich velvety chocolate. Suddenly, the ship slowed, the water around them churning unexpectedly. Captain Biscuit grasped the wheel tightly, peering into the depths of a mix of caution and curiosity. "Something's out there," he muttered, his eyes scanning the bubbling surface. Without warning, a massive shape emerged from the water. The crew gasped, and a gigantic kraken revealed itself. its enormous body composed of bubblegum pink and tentacles of fluffy cotton candy. But instead of the fear that one might expect from such a sight, the crew's apprehension quickly turned to wonder. The Kraken's eyes were gentle, and it wore a playful grin on its face. "Ahoy there, tiny sugar sailors!" boomed the Kraken in a voice that bubbled like a soda pop. "Fear not, I am not here to harm, but to parley and share tales of the Candy Ocean depths." Captain Biscuit stepped forward, his gumdrop buttons glistening in the sunlight. "Greetings, mighty Kraken. We are travellers on a quest to discover the source of the chocolate river. What can you tell us of these waters?" The Kraken's cotton candy tentacles swirled through the water, creating gentle waves that rocked the ship smoothly. "Many moons have I swam these waters, and many secrets do they hold. The river you follow has its beginnings in a place most wondrous, fed by the springs beneath the Kaku Mountains. But beware, for not all in the deep is as sweet as it seems." The crew listened intently as the Kraken recounted stories of underwater candy in coral reefs, fish that glowed like neon gumdrops, and sea currents that carried flavours from one end of the ocean to the other. Its tales were filled with both the magic and perils of Candy Ocean, painting a picture of a world beneath the surface as rich and vibrant as the one they had travelled through. Oreo Ollie had always the most curious, asked, "Have you ever been to the source of the river, Great Kraken?" The Kraken chuckled, a sound like popping bubble wrap. "Yes, young one. It is a place of great beauty and danger. The river's source is guided by the Old Ones, ancient creatures made of the purest dark chocolate who protect secrets of the waters. You will need courage and respect to pass their test." As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the scene, the Kraken prepared to depart. "I must return to the depths," it said, its eyes twinkling with a mischievous light. "Remember, the path to discovery is often wrapped in mystery, and the journey is as sweet as the destination." With a final wave of its cotton candy tentacles, the Kraken emerged, leaving behind a whirlpool of chocolate water that slowly settled back into calm. The crew stood in silence, awed by the encounter, their hearts filled with the new stories and the journey enriched by the knowledge shared by the confectionery Kraken. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Captain Biscuit turned the ship downstream, his eyes fixed on the horizon. "Onward to the Kaku Mountains," he declared, his voice steady and full of resolve. "Let's find this source for now. We will sail with the tales of the Kraken guiding us." After their thrilling encounter with the confectionery Kraken, the SS Crumbcake sailed into brighter, busier waters as they approached the peppermint port. As they neared, the salty scent of the peppermint filled the air, invigorating the crew with its crisp, clean fragrance. The port itself was a dazzling spectacle of colour and activity, with ships of all sizes stocked along its candy jetties. Their sails, patchwork of every conceivable sweet wrapper. The port was bustling with sailors made of peppermint sticks, their red and white and stripes gleaming under the sun. Candy corn merchants hawked at their waves loudly, the voices blending into a canopy that sounded like a melody played backwards. Stalls lined the waterfront, offering goods ranging from spiced rum balls to sugared sea glass, all displayed in heaps that glittered like treasure. Captain Biscuit led his crew ashore, their boots clicking rhythmically on the peppermint paved ground. "Keep your wits about you," he advised, through his eyes sparkled with amusement. "This place can turn sense into nonsense before you can say sugar plum." As they wandered through the market, the air was thick with the calls of the vendors. "Trade your thoughts for a bag of candied nuts," one shouted. Another proclaimed, "Sparkles of bubblegum boys today, only swap a song for a sap." The crew was drawn into the particular bartering system for port. Macaroon Mary exchanged a sea shanty for a set of licorice laces, while Oreo Ollie bartered for a riddle for a compass that always pointed to the nearest dessert. The conversations around them grew increasingly whimsical and bizarre. A group of peppermint sailors debated whether the moon was made of white chocolate or vanilla bean cheese, each argument more outlandish than the last. Nearby, a candy corn merchant insisted that the ocean's waves were simply rolls of blue raspberry taffy set in motion by the breathing of a sleeping sea dragon. "It's a place where dreams mix with reality," Sprinkle Sam remarked, his voice filled with wonder as he listened to the merchant describe a map to a hidden lagoon where the water turned into jelly when the moon was full. Even the transactions were wrapped in riddles and poems. To purchase anything, one had to answer a puzzle or spin a verse, making every exchange a game of wit and whimsy. As the sun began to set, casting a long shadow over the peppermint paths, the crew gathered at a quiet cafe that served a hot copper with a pinch of sea salt. They sipped their drinks, the warmth seeping into their bones as they recounted the day's adventures, each tale taller than the last. "Today, we traded in the currency of stories and songs," Captain Biscuit mused, his eyes twinkling with delight. "Perhaps that's all that money ever really is, a way to exchange pieces of our experience with others." With hearts light and spirits high, the crew of the SS Crumbcake prepared to leave the peppermint port, their minds buzzing with the non-statical wisdom they had gained. As they returned to their ship, the lines between reality and fantasy blurred even further, leaving them wondering if perhaps, in a world as wondrous as theirs, nonsense made most sense of all. After leaving the lively peppermint port, the SS Crumbcake resumed its journey down the Chocolate River, which soon began to exhibit some unusual changes. As the ship sailed forward, the water beneath them transitioned from its rich chocolate hue to a swirl of dazzling colours, turning into a flowing river of multicoloured sorbet. The transformation was gradual, but mesmerising, with streaks of strawberry pink, lemon yellow and lime green, intertwining gracefully. Captain Biscuit stood at the helm, his eyes wide with wonder as the ship glided through the sorbet swirl. The air became cooler, filled with the flesh-tangerine scent of citrus and berries. "It's like sailing through a rainbow," Macaroon Mary exclaimed, her hands scooping through the water, leaving a trail that mixed the colours further. The landscape around them shifted, with each bend in the river. One moment they were passing under archways formed by twisted licorice vines, and the next they found themselves surrounded by hills that seemed to be made of a softly whipped mousse, the surfaces shimmering under the sunlight with a sugary glow. As the ship sailed through its stream-like terrain, the scenery continued to change unpredictably. Candy frost clouds floated above landscapes that morphed from marshmallow meadows to a dense forest of candy cane trees with minty leaves that clinked softly in the wind like chimes. The crew leaned over the sides, hands trailing in the sorbet stream, laughing as they tried to catch the ever-changing flavours. Oreo Ollie scooped up a handful of water, tasting the icy mix of raspberry and mango. "It's like the river is sharing its dreams with us," he mused. His face, lit by the colours reflected in the water. As they drifted further, the river seemed to pulse with energy, its colours swirling faster, creating a hypnotic effect. It felt as though the river itself was alive, guiding the crumb cake through its heart and soul, showing off its magical essence. Suddenly, the river carried them to a large open lake, a vast basin where the sorbet waters calmed into a gentle swirl of pastel shades. In the centre of the lake floated an island made entirely of gelato, its peaks dusted with powdered sugar snow. Captain Biscuit directed the ship toward the island, anchoring at a dock fashioned from chocolate wafers. The crew disembarked, stepping onto a shore where the sand was as fine as granulated sugar. Exploring the island, they found streams of melted sorbet and favoured with petals of tiny sliced fruit leather that rusted in the soft breeze. As the day turned to evening, the sky painted itself in strokes of orange, pink and lavender, mirroring the sorbet hues of the river. The crew gathered on the Gelato beach, watching the sunset while feasting on the island's sweet bounty. That night, they slept aboard the crumb cake, anchored in the lake of the sorbet swirl. Their dreams were vivid and colourful, filled with landscapes morphing gently from one form to another. The journey through the sorbet swirl not only delighted their senses, but also reminded them of the fluidity of dreams and the beauty of letting go, allowing the river to guide them through its ever-changing, dreamlike embrace. After a night filled with dreams as colourful as the sorbet swirl, the crew of the SS Crumb Cake prepared to set sail once again. The morning was bright and cheerful, a stark contrast to the looming threat that they were about to encounter. Captain Biscuit, ever vigilant, noticed unusual ripples in the water as they left the Gelato Island, a sign that they were not alone in the chocolate river. As they rounded the bend, the source of the disturbance revealed itself. Moored at the riverbank was a fleet of dental floss dinghies, each manned by a member of the Dastardly Dental Brigade. These villains were dental hygiene fanatics, dressed in sparkling white uniforms, their smiles unnaturally bright in the morning light. "Ahoy! What brings you to these sweet waters?" Captain Biscuit called out, his tone friendly but cautious. The leader of the brigade, a tall man with a mirror shiny badge reading General Platt, stepped forward, his teeth gleaming menacingly. "We are here to help cleanse this river of its sugary filth and restore it to a state of pristine, flavourless purity," he declared, waving a toothbrush like a sword. The crew chuckled at the absurdity of his mission. The general's plans were as convoluted as they were humorous. They detailed his strategy, involving giant toothbrushes to scrub the riverbanks, mint-flavoured peripheries to neutralise the chocolate, and floss the nets to carry any stray candy fish. Our ultimate weapon, General Platt continued, puffing with pride, is the paste pump, a device designed to inject massive amounts of fluoride into the river, turning your treacherous chocolate waters into a sparkling clean stream. The crew of the crumb-cake listened, a mix of amusement and concern on their faces. It was clear that the dental brigade was serious, but their plans seemed too outlandish to be effective. "We can't let them wash away the river's magic," Buckaroo Mary whispered, her eyes narrowing with determination. Captain Biscuit nodded. He then turned back to General Platt with a grin. "Well, General, it seems we have a conflict of interest. How about a challenge to settle this? A race to the heart of the Kaku Mountains. If you win, we'll consider your cleaning proposal. If we win, you leave the river as it is." General Platt stroked his clean-shaven chin, considering. "Very well, Captain. We accept your challenge. May the best crew clean or sail." With the terms set, both parties prepared for the race. The dental brigade's dinghies lined up alongside the crumb-cake, their crews ready with paddles shaped like dental pricks. As the race began, the absurdity of the situation wasn't lost on Cookie Pirates. They paddled vigorously, laughing mingling with the competitive shouts. The river itself seemed to play along, its current swirling mischievously around the dental dinghies, slowing them just enough to give the crumb-cake an edge. There was a race spirited and filled with light-hearted banter, the riverbanks echoing with the sounds of the unusual contest. As they neared the finish line at the base of the Kaku Mountains, it was clear that the SS crumb-cake would emerge victorious. General Platt, true to his word, conceded gracefully, though his smile was a little bit less shiny. "Very well, Captain. We'll leave your chocolate river be, for now. But mark my words, we'll be back one day to fight the decay another day." With a final wave, the dental brigade retreated, their dental floss dinghies disappearing into the distance. The crew of the crumb-cake cheered, their victory sweetened by the knowledge that the chocolate river's magic would continue to flow, untouched by the hands of those who couldn't appreciate its whimsical wonders. After their humorous victory over the dastardly dental brigade, the crew of the SS crumb-cake resumed their voyage, sailing closer to the heart of the Kaku Mountains. As they navigated further upriver, the waters began to change once again. This time, the chocolate river thickened into a vibrant, stretchy taffy tides that clung and pulled at the ship in a playful, albeit challenging dance. Captain Biscuit at the helm had to adjust his grip and commands frequently as the taffy tide stretched around the crumb-cake, tugging them one way before snapping back and propelling them into another. "Hold steady, crew," he called out, his voice a mix of exhilaration and focus. The ship creaked and groaned under the unusual strain, bending to the winds of the taffy, but not breaking. The landscape around them transformed as well, with the riverbanks lined with trees tipping with licorice vines and bushes bursting with cotton candy blooms. The taffy tides reflected these vibrant hues, creating a mix of colours in the water that dazzled the eyes and entranced the senses. Buckaroo Mary and Sprinkle Sam were stationed at the bow, tasked with ensuring the large candy cane hooks to catch and release the taffy strands that threatened to veer the ship off course. Their movements were synchronized and swift, turning their necessarily task into a sort of dance, punctured by the laughter and the occasional shout of success. Oreo Ollie, ever the adventurous spirit, leaned over the side, his fingers skimming the taffy surface. "It's like the river is playing with us," he exclaimed, pulling back, a hand coated in the string of taffy that snapped back into the water with a pop. As the day wore on, the taffy tides grew more intense, the river's pull becoming more unpredictable. This did not dampen the crew's spirits. Instead, it heightened their sense of adventure. They began to see the taffy not as an obstacle, but as part of the river's mysterious charm, inviting them to emerge more deeply with their journey. At one particularly sharp bend, the taffy pulled the crumb cake towards a cluster of rocks that jutted out like crystallized sugar. With a depth renewer and a collective effort from the crew, Captain Biscuit steered them just in time, earning a round of cheers. As night began to fall, the taffy tides calmed, settling into a gentle pull that rocked the ship softly. The crew gathered on deck, exhausted but exhilarated, sharing stories of the day's adventures. The sky turned a deep velvet, studded with stars that reflected off the taffy river, creating a sense of sailing through an endless galaxy. "That was a ride," Captain Biscuit laughed, his eyes bright under the starlight. "This river, she never ceases to amaze." With the taffy tide spinning up behind them, the crew of the SS Crumbcake looked ahead to the looming shadows of the Kaku Mountains. Their journey through the river's surreal landscapes deepening, their connection to this magical world as they drifted off to sleep. The river's gentle tugging seemed like a lullaby, a reminder of the wonders still to come. As the SS Crumbcake sailed away from the playful taffy tides, the crew felt a shift in the atmosphere. The air became saturated with a rich, comforting sense of vanilla, and ahead, the river seemed to swirl into a large, spiraling vortex. Its creamy white waters spun in a hypnotic dance, pulling the ship towards its centre. "Steady now," Captain Biscuit murmured, his hands firm on the wheel. As they approached the swirling vanilla vortex, the crew braced themselves, unsure of what to expect, but intrigued by the enchanting aroma and by the mesmerising visual of the spiral. As the crumb cake entered the vortex, a sudden calm enveloped them. The swirling water soothed, and the world seemed to quiet, except for the soft, echoing sound of their own laughter and voices from moments before. It was as if the vortex was replaying their recent experiences in a surreal auditory flashback. The effect of the vanilla-scented vortex was startling. Time appeared to reverse, and the crew found themselves experiencing whimsical, illogical flashbacks of earlier events. Scenes from the journey were played out of order, and with a dreamlike quality, they watched as the gumdrop gales rained sweet in reverse, gumdrops lifting off the deck and flying back into the sky. The encounter with the confectionery kraken unfolded, with the kraken speaking in rhymes that made no sense, yet seemed perfectly reasonable. "Are we dreaming?" Ollie asked, his voice filled with wonder as he watched a scene where they raced the dental brigade backwards, the finish line becoming the starting point. "It's the vortex," Mary replied, a smile spreading across her face. "It's not just reversing in time, it's mixing up our memories like dough." Sprinkle Sam, who had begun to write a poem about the vortex, found his words jumbling on the page, creating verses that tickled their minds in strange, new ways. Even the ship itself seemed to join in the whimsy, with sails flapping gently as if laughing at the confusion. As they drifted deeper into the vortex, the air thickened with a scent of vanilla, becoming almost tangible, like a warm blanket wrapped around them. The crew moved in slow, dreamlike state, their actions echoing earlier ones but with a twist, eating meals that uncooked themselves, playing games where the rules unchanged, with each turn, and telling stories where the endings came first. Finally, as the vortex began to release the hold, the flow of time corrected itself, and the events settled back into their natural order. The crew blinked, as if waking from a deep sleep, and found themselves sailing out of the vortex, the river once again flowing smoothly beneath them. Captain Biscuit, with a reflective look in his eye, adjusted his hat. That was a journey through the past as much as it was through the river. It seems the Chocolate River itself has more lessons for us than just how to navigate its waters. With the scent of vanilla still lingering in the air, the crew shared a quiet moment contemplating the whimsical reverse of the time they had just experienced. It was a reminder of the river's magical properties, not just to alter the landscape, but to influence time and memory itself. Renovating by the surreal journey of the vanilla vortex, they prepared for the final leg of their voyage, each step forward now imbued with a newfound appreciation for the mysteries of the Chocolate River. After navigating through the whimsical vanilla vortex, the SS Crumb Cake and her crew approached the final destination of their voyage. The source of the Chocolate River, the landscape around them grew increasingly majestic as they neared the heart of the Kaku Mountains. Towering peaks dusted with powdered sugar, snow, loomed over the river, their grandeur casting deep shadows on the chocolate waters. As the river narrowed, the flow of water slowed until it became a gentle trickle. The crew's anticipation built with each quiet, lapping wave against the hull of the crumb cake. Captain Biscuit steered the ship to a small, serene pool surrounded by lush cocoa bean trees that whispered secrets into the wind. There, Mary pointed to a structure in the middle of the pool. It was a grand fountain, crafted from the darkest witch's chocolate they had ever seen. The fountain was the source of the river, its waters flowing out into a steady, mesmerizing stream that filled the air with the intoxicating scent of pure chocolate. As they disembarked and approached the fountain, they noticed figures moving around it, ancient sugar spirits, their forms shimmering with crystalline light. These spirits were the guardians of the source, their presence a gentle but formidable force. "We have been expecting you," one of the spirits spoke, its voice like tinkling of a sugar spoon against a fine china cup. "You have journeyed far and forced many wanderers to find this place." Captain Biscuit stepped forward, his hat in his hands, a mark of respect. We seek to understand the secret of the chocolate river and vow to protect its source, it said earnestly. The spirits conferred among themselves. Their whispers like a jet rustle of colophon in a gentle breeze. Finally, they turned back to the crew, nodding in approval. You have proven yourselves worthy through your deeds and the purity of your intent, another spirit declared. This source is a treasure of nature, a gift to be cherished and safeguarded. The crew gathered around the chocolate fountain, their hearts swelling with pride and a sense of duty. They promised to keep the location and the magic of the source a secret, ensuring that the chocolate river will continue to flow freely and sweetly, untouched by those who would do it harm. As the sun set behind the Cuckoo Mountains, casting the sky in hues of cocoa and cream, the crew made their way back to the Crumb Cape. They set sail down the river, each bend and turn now familiar, each wave a soft lullaby that echoed their promises. Captain Biscuit stood at the helm, his gaze fixed on the path ahead, but his thoughts lingered on the magical fountain. The river begins as it ends with chocolate and wonder, he mused aloud. The crew settled into a comfortable silence, the rhythmic sound of the river mingling with their thoughts. As they sailed, the story of their voyage looped in their minds, a tale of adventure and whimsy, of challenges met and mysteries unravelled. And so, the chocolate river flowed on, sweet, endless stream carrying tales of Captain Biscuit and his crew, lulling listeners into dream filled with marshmallow clouds, licorice lighthouses and chocolate waters. Good night.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this. Also, if you're interested in exploring other topics, make sure to check out my other 2 channels which are linked below. I appreciate your support and I'll see you in the next video.